As a brain doctor, I am shocked by what I've discovered. The way you sleep tonight could quietly raise your risk of a stroke by morning. That's right. Just one sleeping position, repeated night after night, may silently restrict blood flow, strain your neck arteries, and even trigger dangerous clots while you rest. Most seniors have no idea they're doing it. And yet, this one habit could mean the difference between waking up refreshed or never waking up at all. Welcome back to a new video on Senior Secrets TV, where we bring you the latest science-backed health discoveries to help seniors live longer, stronger, and more independent lives. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, so you never miss out on life-saving health tips that could transform your future. As a neurologist who has treated countless seniors with stroke and brain health concerns, I can tell you this with absolute confidence. Many stroke risks are hidden in plain sight. We often focus on blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes. And yes, those are major contributors. But what if I told you that even your body position during sleep, something you spend nearly 1/3 of your life doing, could add to your risk? Research is now showing that the way you position your head, neck, and blood vessels at night changes how blood circulates to your brain. In some seniors, this creates the perfect storm for reduced blood flow, pressure on arteries, or clot formation. And unfortunately, it only takes a few seconds of poor circulation for a stroke to begin developing. This is why I feel compelled to share this urgent information with you today. When we talk about stroke risk, most seniors immediately think of their diet, their medications, or their family history. And while all of these are critical, very few people ever consider that something as innocent as the way they rest at night can quietly change their future. The truth is that your sleeping position determines how your neck arteries are compressed, how your spine aligns, and how smoothly blood can flow toward your brain. Imagine a garden hose. If it is straight and free of pressure, water flows naturally. But if you bend it sharply or press weight on one area, the flow slows down or even stops. The same principle applies to your arteries, particularly the carotid arteries in your neck, which are the brain's lifeline. When certain positions place continuous pressure on these vessels, it increases turbulence and reduces oxygen supply to the brain. Over time, this can contribute to plaque buildup, clots, or even sudden blockages. In clinical practice, we have observed that people who sleep face down or with their head sharply turned to one side for hours at a time show more symptoms of morning headaches, dizziness, or even transient mini-strokes, which are called TIAs, transient ischemic attacks. These are often brushed aside as simple fatigue, but they are actually red flags. A TIA is like the body's warning shot, telling you that a stroke could be coming if changes are not made. And tragically, too many seniors ignore these signs until it is too late. The very position they assume every night, thinking it's harmless, could be pushing them toward one of the most devastating brain events a person can experience. Studies using imaging technology, like MRI scans, ions, and ultrasound flow measurements, reveal that side sleeping with pressure directly on one side of the face and neck can reduce blood flow through the carotid artery by as much as 30%. Now that may not sound like much, but in a senior who already has narrowed vessels due to cholesterol buildup, diabetes, or high blood pressure, even a 10% reduction is dangerous. The brain is an organ that demands constant, steady oxygen. Starve it for even a few minutes, and brain cells begin to die. That's the harsh reality of stroke. It does not give you a second chance. By the time you realize something is wrong, damage may already be permanent. Think for a moment about how long the average person sleeps. 7 to 8 hours a night, multiplied by years of repeating the same posture, is a massive amount of time spent either protecting or endangering your brain. The cumulative effect is what makes this so serious. A single night of poor posture will not cause a stroke, but thousands of nights, with the same artery compressed, the same veins struggling to return blood, the same weight pressing on the neck. This builds into a risk that is no longer small, but significant. And yet, most seniors never even hear this from their doctors. It shocks me as a brain specialist that this silent risk factor is almost never discussed in routine checkups, even though it is something every senior can change without cost, without drugs, and without surgery. Another factor to consider is sleep apnea, which often coexists with poor sleeping positions. Seniors who sleep on their backs, particularly those who are overweight, can experience airway collapse and reduced oxygen intake. This not only starves the body of oxygen, but also creates spikes in blood pressure during the night. High blood pressure is the single greatest risk factor for stroke. Combine that with a restricted artery from neck positioning, and you have a dangerous combination. Imagine trying to drive a car where the fuel line is partially blocked and the fuel tank itself is nearly empty. It is only a matter of time before the engine fails. This is what happens inside the human body during certain sleep postures. Limited oxygen plus unstable pressure equals a vulnerable brain. I cannot stress enough how deceptive this risk feels. Lying in bed is supposed to be the most relaxing, healing part of your day. And yet for some, it is the very hours of rest that increase their likelihood of waking up with weakness, slurred speech, or sudden paralysis. Stroke is not a disease that waits politely for the perfect moment. It strikes without warning, and if the damage is severe, it can rob you of your independence overnight. Seniors who were driving yesterday, cooking their meals, and living freely can suddenly find themselves unable to speak, unable to walk, or dependent on others for the rest of their lives. Among the different sleeping positions, there is one that consistently raises concern among brain doctors and cardiologists: sleeping on the stomach with the head sharply turned to one side. This posture may feel comfortable to some, but physiologically it is one of the most harmful. When you sleep like this, your neck arteries are twisted unnaturally for hours. The vertebral arteries that run through the spine are squeezed, and the carotid artery on the side of the neck is compressed. This double pressure reduces the amount of blood reaching the brain and increases turbulence inside the artery wall. Turbulence is dangerous because it irritates the lining of the artery, leading to tiny injuries that encourage cholesterol and clot particles to stick. Over months and years, these clots can grow, break loose, and travel into the brain, blocking smaller vessels. What begins as a position of comfort can end in tragedy. Even side sleeping, while much safer than stomach sleeping, can become risky if the pillow is too high or too low. An unbalanced pillow bends the neck sharply to one side, again narrowing the space where blood vessels run. For seniors who already have plaques or stiffness in the arteries, this added bend is enough to tip them into restricted circulation. You may not notice anything in the moment, no pain, no dizziness, nothing, but the reduced flow is certainly taking its toll. Every cell in the brain that goes without oxygen for even a few minutes suffers, and over years this contributes to memory decline, morning confusion, or small vessel damage that shows up as white spots on brain scans. Many seniors dismiss these as normal aging, but science proves they are not inevitable. They are often the price of hidden, preventable risks. Back sleeping, on the other hand, is generally safer for the blood vessels, but it carries its own dangers if it leads to airway obstruction. Seniors with sleep apnea often do worse in this position because the tongue and soft tissues fall backward, closing the airway. Every time the airway collapses, the body jolts awake slightly and blood pressure spikes. Imagine this happening 50 or 60 times per night. Each spike puts extra strain on the arteries feeding the brain, making them more prone to rupture or blockage. For this reason, doctors often recommend a modified side position where the head is aligned with the body. The pillow supports the neck at a natural angle, and the airway remains open. This balance reduces both vascular compression and airway blockage, offering the brain its best chance for consistent oxygen supply. The safest position, according to growing research, is side sleeping on the left with proper support. This posture keeps the major vessels aligned, avoids unnecessary pressure on the carotids, and allows better circulation to the heart and brain. But again, the key is support. A medium firm pillow that cradles the neck without bending it sharply, and a body pillow or cushion that keeps the spine straight. Without this alignment, even the left side can become harmful over time. The goal is to avoid kinking, twisting, or compressing the pathways that blood must travel. Seniors who master this often report not only improved energy in the morning, but also fewer headaches, less brain fog, and lower nighttime blood pressure readings. These may seem like small improvements, but together they add up to a reduced risk of the devastating event no one wants to face, a stroke that changes life forever. As a brain doctor, I cannot tell you how many patients have sat in my office after a stroke, bewildered, saying, "But I was only sleeping." The look of shock in their eyes is unforgettable. They followed their prescriptions, took their medications, and even watched their diets. But no one ever told them about posture in bed. It breaks my heart because this is one of the most controllable risk factors we know. It costs nothing to change the way you position yourself at night. It requires no prescription, no surgery, and no complicated lifestyle overhaul. Yet the benefit can be enormous, protecting the arteries that keep your brain alive. Stroke prevention is not about one big step. It is about stacking small protections together. Good sleep posture is one of those protections. For a senior over 60, it could mean waking up every morning with your mind intact, your independence preserved, and your body still under your control. Ignore it, and the risk compounds silently until one night the damage is done. That is why awareness matters. Once you understand how posture affects your brain, you cannot unsee it. You begin to realize that every hour of rest is either strengthening your future or quietly gambling it away. I remember vividly a patient in his late 60s who came to the emergency room early one morning. His wife said he had gone to bed completely fine, but when he woke up, he couldn't move his right arm and his speech was slurred. He had suffered a stroke during the night. When we investigated, his risk factors were there: high blood pressure, some cholesterol buildup. But what stood out was that he had been a stomach sleeper for decades, with his head always turned sharply to the right. The scans revealed narrowing in the very artery that had been compressed night after night. Of course, no one can say posture was the sole cause, but the repeated strain on those blood vessels likely accelerated his decline. It is stories like these that make me emphasize how something so ordinary, something you never even think about, can quietly influence the course of your health. Another senior I treated had experienced what we call mini strokes, or TIAs, several times. She described them as moments of fuzziness upon waking, where she couldn't think clearly or felt briefly weak. At first, she assumed it was just fatigue or poor sleep quality. But after evaluation, we realized she was experiencing temporary interruptions in blood flow to her brain. She also mentioned always sleeping on her side with her arm under her head, which pushed her neck into an extreme tilt. When she switched to a neutral side position with a supportive pillow, those morning episodes dramatically decreased. This was not magic, it was physiology. By reducing the pressure on her carotid arteries, she allowed blood to flow more freely, giving her brain the oxygen it needed at night. Morning warning signs are often ignored, but they are critical. If you wake up with a headache that wasn't there before, if you feel dizzy as you rise from bed, if your vision is momentarily blurred, or if you notice tingling in your face or limbs, do not dismiss these as normal aging. They can be early indicators that your brain is struggling with circulation while you sleep. Too many times, I have seen patients brush off these clues, only to face a major stroke later. These signs are your body's plea for attention. They are not just coincidences. The brain does not lie. When it struggles, it speaks in symptoms. Listening early can save your independence and sometimes even your life. Simple adjustments can make a profound difference. Using a pillow that keeps your neck aligned with your stomach, avoiding positions where your head is turned too far in one direction, and choosing a side-lying position that feels comfortable without pressure points can all reduce vascular stress. For some seniors, a wedge pillow to elevate the upper body slightly can help keep the airway open, reducing apnea episodes while also lessening the strain on neck arteries. These are not complicated medical interventions. They are practical changes you can implement tonight. And yet, they carry the weight of true prevention. It is also important to remember that no two bodies are the same. A posture that is safe for one person may be dangerous for another, especially if they already have vascular disease or structural issues in the spine. This is why discussing your sleep patterns with your doctor can be as important as sharing your diet or exercise routine. Most seniors never think to mention sleep position at an appointment, but I urge you to bring it up. Ask whether your current posture might be increasing your risk. Your doctor can evaluate your circulation, your risk factors, and even order imaging if necessary. This conversation may reveal adjustments that dramatically reduce your chance of future strokes. Sleep should be a time of restoration. It should be when the body heals, the brain organizes memories, and the heart rate and blood pressure find calm. But when the posture is wrong, sleep becomes a silent risk factor rather than a healing process. As a neurologist, it pains me to know how many lives could be spared from the devastation of stroke if only this message were more widely understood. Stroke is the second leading cause of death worldwide, and one of the primary reasons seniors lose their independence. It robs not only years of life, but also quality of life. And the tragedy is that up to 80% of strokes are preventable with lifestyle adjustments. Posture, though often ignored, is one of those adjustments. When I tell patients this, many are skeptical at first. They say, "Doctor, how can something so small matter so much?" But then I explain, the brain is not a muscle you can strengthen after injury. It is an organ that, once damaged, cannot regrow. Prevention is not optional. It is the only protection. And unlike expensive treatments or risky surgeries, prevention through posture is entirely within your control. Every night when you lie down, you are choosing either to protect your arteries or to stress them. That choice may not feel urgent today, but years from now, you will see its impact. What many people do not realize is that stroke risk is not evenly distributed across the day. In fact, research has shown that the early morning hours are one of the most dangerous times for strokes to occur. The reason is partly biological and partly mechanical. During sleep, blood pressure tends to dip, which is normal and protective. But as the body prepares to wake, hormones surge, heart rate rises, and blood pressure begins to climb. This natural rise in pressure, combined with hours of potential vascular compression from poor posture, can create the perfect moment for a clot to dislodge or a weakened artery wall to rupture. For seniors who already live with narrowed vessels or stiffened arteries, this transition from sleep to wakefulness becomes a fragile window of risk. The mechanics of posture only add to this vulnerability. When an artery is compressed for hours, blood flow slows, and blood that does not move freely has a higher chance of forming clots. A clot that begins small can grow silently overnight, and as pressure rises in the morning, it can suddenly travel upward, blocking circulation in the brain. At the same time, the lack of steady oxygen during the night can weaken the very walls of the arteries. By morning, under the stress of the pressure surge, these fragile spots can give way, leading to a hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding inside the brain. This is why we see so many patients arriving at the hospital first thing in the morning, shocked that they went to bed and woke up with paralysis or loss of speech. Seniors over 60 are particularly vulnerable to these events for several reasons. First, aging naturally stiffens arteries, making them less resilient to pressure changes. A young artery bends and absorbs stress like a flexible hose, but an older artery cracks and narrows more easily. Second, many seniors carry additional risk factors: high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, or atrial fibrillation, which compound the danger. Third, sleep quality itself often declines with age. Seniors may wake more frequently, sleep in awkward positions, or rely on multiple pillows, all of which can contribute to unhealthy posture. Add these factors together, and what might seem like a harmless way of lying in bed transforms into a setup for disaster. To illustrate this, think of the brain's circulation system as a highway. In youth, the highway is wide, smooth, and can handle traffic at any speed. But with age, cracks form, lanes narrow, and detours appear. If a truck blocks one lane, traffic can usually reroute. But if the highway is already narrowed and another truck blocks the only open lane, everything comes to a halt. This is what happens during a stroke. The clot or rupture may be small, but in an older, already narrowed vessel, the effect is catastrophic. The sleeping position, by bending or compressing those vessels for hours, is like placing a construction barrier on the highway. Night after night, the traffic becomes less reliable, and sooner or later, a total blockage occurs. This is why prevention is so important. Adjusting posture may not feel like a dramatic intervention, but physiologically, it keeps the highway open. It allows blood to move freely, reduces turbulence, and ensures the brain cells receive the oxygen they desperately need. Seniors who take this seriously often find that not only do they reduce their stroke risk, but they also feel more rested, think more clearly, and experience fewer memory lapses. This is because oxygen is the fuel of the brain. A brain that is consistently nourished will function better in every way. As doctors, we stress control of blood pressure, control of sugar, control of cholesterol, and rightly so. But posture is the missing piece in the conversation. A patient may be taking all the right medications, eating a heart-healthy diet, and walking daily. But if every night they compress their carotid artery for 8 hours, they are undoing much of their progress. It is like exercising in the day and then smoking a pack of cigarettes at night. The damage accumulates silently, and the body pays the price. By shifting to a safer position, seniors give themselves an invisible shield, protecting their most vital organ while they rest. The tragedy of stroke is not only in its suddenness, but in its permanence. A broken bone can heal, a strained muscle can recover, but a damaged brain may never fully return to normal. Every word lost, every step unsteady, every moment of independence surrendered is a reminder of what could have been prevented. That is why, as a brain doctor, I say this with urgency. Do not underestimate the power of sleep posture. It is not about comfort alone. It is about survival, dignity, and quality of life in your later years. The good news is that changing sleep position is not only possible, but also surprisingly effective once the right techniques are used. Many seniors tell me, "Doctor, I've slept the same way for 40 years. I can't change now." But the brain and body are adaptable at every age. With small adjustments and consistent practice, even deeply ingrained habits can be reshaped. The key is to train the body gently, rather than forcing an abrupt change. One of the most effective methods is using pillow placement as a guide. For example, if you are a habitual stomach sleeper, you can place a firm pillow against your torso to prevent rolling forward in the night. A supportive pillow under the head and another between the knees can stabilize the body in a comfortable side-lying position. This creates natural barriers that discourage returning to harmful postures unconsciously. Over time, the body begins to associate this arrangement with comfort and safety, making it easier to sustain. For seniors who find back sleeping more natural, a slight elevation of the upper body can make a tremendous difference. A wedge pillow or adjustable bed that raises the head by about 20 to 30 degrees reduces the risk of airway collapse and eases the strain on neck arteries. This angle is subtle enough to remain comfortable but strong enough to improve circulation and breathing. I have seen patients with long-standing sleep apnea report significant improvement simply by elevating their position. They wake with clearer heads, less grogginess, and better blood pressure control. Again, these are benefits achieved without medications or machines, only with alignment and support. Consistency is critical. The body learns through repetition, and the brain's internal clock thrives on predictability. Seniors who go to bed at the same time each night and prepare their sleep environment with supportive pillows are more successful at maintaining safe postures. It is not about perfection, no one stays in one position all night, but about spending the majority of rest in a posture that protects rather than harms. Even reducing hours of harmful compression from 8 down to 2 or 3 dramatically lowers the accumulated risk over years. Another overlooked factor is mattress quality. A sagging or overly soft mattress can cause the spine to bend unnaturally, undoing the benefits of a safe posture. On the other hand, a mattress that is too firm may create pressure points that force seniors into twisting for relief. The ideal is a medium-firm surface that supports the body evenly, allowing the head, shoulders, hips, and legs to remain in alignment. This alignment ensures that arteries and airways are not pinched unnecessarily. It is not a luxury to invest in the right sleep surface. It is an essential tool for health preservation. I often remind seniors that they do not need to make these changes alone. Discussing posture concerns with a family member or caregiver can provide accountability. Loved ones can gently remind you or help arrange pillows at night until it becomes second nature. In fact, many families I've worked with told me that once one person adjusted their posture, others followed, creating healthier sleep habits across generations. Health is contagious in that way. When one person takes prevention seriously, it inspires others to do the same. Beyond posture itself, the bedtime routine also matters. Relaxing the muscles of the neck and shoulders before sleep with light stretching or gentle massage can reduce tension that otherwise worsens artery compression. A stiff neck does not bend smoothly, meaning any twist is more likely to pinch circulation. By loosening these muscles, you make it easier for the body to maintain neutral, safe positions. Something as simple as a warm compress or 5 minutes of slow neck rotations before bed can prepare the body for healthier rest. The goal is not to fear sleep, but to respect it. Nighttime should be a sanctuary for healing, not a hidden battlefield for your arteries. By approaching posture with the same seriousness you give to your medication schedule or your daily walk, you turn rest into an ally. The brain will thank you, not just in the form of reduced stroke risk, but in clearer mornings, steadier moods, and sharper memory. These are the subtle rewards of proper circulation, and they are what make prevention worthwhile. One of the most memorable cases I encountered was a woman in her early 70s who had lived a very disciplined lifestyle. She exercised daily, avoided smoking, and kept her blood pressure under control with medication. Yet despite all this, she often woke with headaches and described a sense of mental fog that lifted only after several hours. Concerned, she underwent a vascular ultrasound, which revealed significant narrowing of one carotid artery. When we discussed her lifestyle, she casually mentioned that she always slept on her right side, with her face pressed into a firm pillow. For years, this had been her only comfortable position. I explained how this could be compressing her already vulnerable artery for hours each night. Reluctantly, she agreed to try modifying her sleep with a neck-supportive pillow and a gentler left-side position. Within weeks, she reported waking with more energy, and her morning headaches disappeared. Though we could not erase her existing narrowing, by reducing the nightly compression, we gave her brain more consistent blood flow, and she felt the difference. Another senior, a man in his late 60s, had suffered a small stroke that left him with mild weakness in one arm. During his recovery, he confessed that he had always been a stomach sleeper, turning his head sharply to the left each night. This detail might sound trivial, but when combined with his vascular disease, it likely tipped him toward disaster. We worked together to retrain his sleep posture using body pillows that prevented him from rolling onto his stomach. At first, he struggled, waking often because the new position felt unfamiliar. But after a month, his body adjusted, and he was able to sleep through the night. Months later, his follow-up scans showed stable arteries with no new blockages, and his confidence grew. He told me, "Doctor, I never thought something as simple as my sleep could matter so much. I wish someone had told me earlier." His story illustrates how even after a stroke, adjustments can protect against future events. Scientific studies have reinforced these observations. Imaging research has demonstrated that gentle sleeping with improper alignment can reduce carotid artery flow by measurable percentages, especially in older adults with pre-existing narrowing. MRI studies reveal that prolonged pressure on the neck changes the velocity and turbulence of blood through these vessels. In some experiments, researchers found that when participants turned their heads to the extreme for even a few minutes, circulation dropped significantly. Now imagine repeating that stress for 7 hours each night, every night, over decades. The cumulative effect is not minor. It is a risk factor that compounds silently until it manifests in the most destructive way possible. Other studies link posture to sleep apnea severity, showing that supine sleeping, lying flat on the back, increases airway collapse events, especially in older adults with weaker throat muscles. Every apnea event is not just a pause in breathing, but a sudden surge in blood pressure, a spike in heart strain, and a drop in oxygen to the brain. These repeated stressors, layered on top of vascular compression from poor posture, create what I call the nighttime storm. While the body is supposed to be resting and repairing, it is instead fighting for oxygen and stability. Seniors in this storm often wake exhausted, their brains taxed, and their stroke risk significantly higher. The powerful lesson from these studies and patient stories is that sleep is not a passive state. What happens in those hours is just as important as what happens in the hours we are awake. A senior who walks daily, eats well, and takes their medicine faithfully can still be undermined by hours of poor posture at night. Conversely, a senior who combines healthy habits with safe, supported sleep may add years of functional, independent life. This is why I emphasize posture as part of a complete prevention strategy. It may be overlooked, but it is not optional. There is something uniquely hopeful about this message, unlike genetic risks or past lifestyle choices which cannot be undone. Posture is changeable. You can decide tonight to protect your brain. You do not need permission, money, or special equipment to start. With awareness and small adjustments, you can take control of one of the most ancient but powerful risk factors for stroke. As a brain doctor, I find this empowering because it means that no matter your age, no matter your past, you still have the ability to lower your risk and safeguard your independence. When we talk about brain health, most people think only of major events like strokes or dementia, but the reality is that brain aging is a gradual process. Every night of poor circulation, every hour of reduced oxygen delivery, slowly chips away at cognitive reserve. Over months and years, this can manifest not as a dramatic collapse, but as subtle forgetfulness, slower reaction times, or increased irritability. Seniors often attribute these changes to just getting old, but the truth is that much of this decline is preventable when the brain is consistently nourished with oxygen-rich blood during sleep. Posture is one of the simplest yet most overlooked ways to ensure that the brain receives this essential supply. Research has shown that seniors who maintain good sleep posture with open airways and free-flowing carotid circulation demonstrate better memory retention, sharper attention, and even more stable moods. In fact, one study tracked older adults over several years and found that those with healthier sleep positions had slower rates of cognitive decline compared to those with compromised postures. This tells us that posture is not just about avoiding catastrophe like a stroke, it is about preserving everyday quality of life. When your brain is well fed at night, it functions better during the day. You feel more alert, more capable, and more engaged with the world around you. Consider the role of sleep in memory. During deep stages of rest, the brain consolidates experiences from the day, transferring them from short-term holding areas into long-term storage. If circulation is restricted or oxygen levels drop repeatedly, this process is disrupted. Seniors may notice that they forget conversations, misplace items more often, or struggle to recall names. These lapses can be frustrating, but they are not inevitable. By correcting posture and ensuring stable blood flow, you protect the brain's ability to perform its nightly housekeeping, which in turn safeguards memory. Mood is another area deeply influenced by sleep posture. Chronic low oxygen during sleep is linked to irritability, anxiety, and even depression. Many seniors come to me feeling emotionally drained, without realizing that their sleep is fueling this imbalance. Once their posture is corrected and circulation improves, they report waking with a sense of calmness and resilience they had not felt in years. Their families often notice the change before they do, commenting that they seem more cheerful, more patient, and more present. It is remarkable how something as simple as alignment can ripple through so many aspects of well-being. Even long-term risks like dementia are influenced by sleep health. The brain clears waste products, including beta-amyloid, the protein associated with Alzheimer's disease, primarily during deep sleep. But if blood flow is impaired, this clearance system becomes sluggish. Over time, waste builds up, contributing to neurodegenerative disease. Seniors who sleep in safe positions not only protect themselves from immediate stroke risk, but also enhance their brain's ability to detoxify and resist long-term decline. This is one of the most exciting areas of current neuroscience, the link between sleep, circulation, and dementia prevention. While no single factor guarantees protection, posture offers a low-cost, practical tool that everyone can apply starting tonight. As a brain doctor, I find it deeply encouraging to give patients advice that does not rely on a prescription bottle or a surgical intervention. When I tell someone that adjusting their sleep posture can improve their memory, stabilize their mood, and lower their dementia risk, I see a spark of hope. It restores a sense of agency, reminding them that their choices still matter, no matter their age. And that is perhaps the most important message. The power to protect the brain is not gone. It is present in every decision, even in something as ordinary as how we lay our head on a pillow. If you are wondering what you can do tonight to protect your brain, the plan is simpler than you might imagine. The first step is awareness. Before you even change anything, notice how you usually fall asleep and how you wake up. Do you find yourself always on your stomach or with your neck twisted to one side? Do you wake with stiffness, headaches, or a dry mouth that suggests airway obstruction? This self-observation is the foundation. Too often, seniors underestimate their habits, but awareness transforms guesswork into clear action. Once you recognize your default posture, the next step is to create a supportive environment that guides your body naturally. Start with your pillow. Instead of using a tall, overstuffed pillow that pushes your head forward or sideways, choose one that keeps your neck aligned with your spine. If you are a side sleeper, the pillow should fill the space between your head and shoulder without tilting you up or down. For back sleepers, a thinner pillow works best, with a small roll under the neck to maintain its natural curve. This alignment keeps blood vessels open and breathing passages clear. The third step is body support. Many seniors benefit from placing a pillow between their knees when lying on their side, which reduces spinal twisting and helps maintain stability. Others find that hugging a body pillow prevents rolling onto the stomach. If you tend to snore or experience mild apnea, elevating the head of the bed by just a few inches, either with a wedge pillow or an adjustable frame, can make an enormous difference. This small incline opens the airway and reduces the gravitational pull on the neck and chest, promoting steady oxygen flow. The fourth step is consistency. Like any healthy habit, posture correction requires repetition. Do not expect to transform in a single night. Instead, aim for gradual progress. If you roll into a poor position, simply adjust yourself when you wake during the night. Over weeks, your body will begin to associate the corrected posture with rest, and soon it will become second nature. Seniors who are patient with this process see the best long-term results. The fifth step is relaxation. Stiff, tense muscles are harder to align and more likely to strain arteries when twisted. Before bed, spend 5 minutes gently stretching your neck and shoulders. Slowly tilt your head side to side, roll your shoulders backward, and breathe deeply. If possible, apply a warm compress to the neck for a few minutes to soften tight muscles. These simple rituals not only prepare your body for safe posture, but also signal to your brain that it is time for restorative sleep. Finally, involve your healthcare provider if you have special conditions like severe arthritis, advanced vascular disease, or sleep apnea. In some cases, posture adjustments alone may not be enough, and your doctor can recommend additional tools such as CPAP machines, cervical pillows, or even imaging tests to check your circulation. Remember, prevention is most powerful when it is tailored to your unique health profile. These steps are not complicated, but their impact is profound. By observing, aligning, supporting, repeating, relaxing, and when needed, seeking medical input, you create an environment where your brain can rest safely and repair itself. What makes this approach so powerful is its accessibility. Anyone can begin tonight, without expensive equipment, and immediately reduce their risk. When I reflect on decades of treating seniors, what strikes me most is how the smallest adjustments often lead to the greatest transformations. Medications, surgeries, and therapies all have their place, but they are often heavy tools for serious problems. Posture, on the other hand, is light, gentle, and within your control, yet its effect on stroke prevention, memory preservation, and overall brain vitality is undeniable. I often describe it as a hidden prescription, one that requires no pharmacy, only awareness and discipline. Think about the hours you spend asleep. For many seniors, it adds up to a third of life. If those hours are spent with arteries compressed, airways narrowed, and the brain starved of oxygen, the damage accumulates silently. But if those same hours are spent with open vessels, free breathing, and supported alignment, your body uses that time to heal, repair, and strengthen. The difference is staggering. Over years, it may be the deciding factor between a sudden stroke and continued independence, between mental decline and mental clarity. This is why I urge every senior to take sleep posture seriously. Not tomorrow, not someday, but tonight. You have the power to change the conditions under which your brain rests. Even if you have lived for decades in poor positions, your body is capable of learning new patterns. It may take patience, but every adjustment, every effort to protect your circulation, pays dividends in health. And unlike pills or procedures, the only side effect of good posture is deeper, more restorative sleep. Families, too, can be part of this prevention. If you have aging parents or loved ones, share this knowledge with them. Watch their habits, gently encourage them, and help them create supportive sleep environments. The ripple effect can extend across generations as children observe the importance of rest and carry these lessons into their own lives. In this way, Protecting one brain becomes protecting many. So I leave you with this thought. Your sleeping position is not trivial. It is not a minor detail to ignore. It is a daily choice with the power to either strain or safeguard your most vital organ. As a brain doctor, I have seen the consequences of neglect, but I have also seen the victories of prevention. And I can tell you with certainty, those who act now, who respect their posture, who guard their sleep, give themselves the best chance for a longer, clearer, more vibrant life. And if you are watching this and thinking, it's too late for me, let me reassure you, it is never too late. Your brain responds to better conditions at any age. Even one night of improved posture can bring relief, and months of consistency can reshape your health trajectory. Do not underestimate the power you hold, even in something as simple as how you lay your head tonight. So tonight, when you prepare for bed, I ask you to remember these words. Adjust your pillow, align your spine, support your neck, and let your brain rest in safety. It may be the single most important gift you give yourself, not just for tonight, but for every tomorrow you still have ahead.